Hey everybody, welcome back to Record-ology. Are you considering getting into cassette tapes? Then I advise you not to get this tape player, and I'll explain why. You're not going to want to miss this. Man, do I have a lot of projects going on right now. I still got the reel-to-reel machine in the back. I haven't touched that in a few days. I need to reflow those solder joints. I've got the CD players on the left that I'm still finishing up cleaning and getting up and at them. But I thought today we would sort of take a divergence from those topics to talk about modern, cheap, relatively, and objectively low quality cassette players. Now, when folks ask me what I recommend to play cassettes on, I always say avoid modern stuff if what you really want is the best sound quality, the most durability, etc., because they just don't make them like they used to. Now, there are a couple of portables, the FIO and the We Are Rewind, that are very good. I think that those are acceptable. They sound good. They're rugged. And that's, a separate show for a separate day. But when you're talking about these little, I wouldn't even call it a boombox, portables, and a lot of the entry-level mechanisms out there, it's just not the same quality that there was before. There's missing features, etc. So my advice to you really is to not buy these things, because most folks out there today are going to be interested in cassettes because they grew up with them. So they're going to, in their mind, compare this stuff to, classic brands like Panasonic, JVC, Sharp, Sony, etc. So when you take something modern like this and you compare it to, they say comparison is the thief of joy. Is that a phrase? I think I've heard that before. If you do that, you're going to thief your joy from this scenario, because this is it's a different level of product. And the same thing goes with virtually every modern, all the big boom boxes that we've reviewed, and they're fun, they're cool. There may be nothing wrong with them in their own right, but when you came from an era of vintage, high quality portables, there is a difference. So if you've been on the fence in terms of going back into the world of cassettes, perhaps you've gone down the vinyl rabbit hole, and like many of us, you take this side trip over to cassette land, and you're like, is this something I want to do? I would advise you, and I do advise people, go vintage. Go vintage for now. There's inherent risks, capacitors, belts, lubrication, issues that will render your equipment looking like this in a non-working condition until you do a certain amount of work and investment in some cases. Those types of problems you're not going to have with a modern. And by the way, this is $38. I thought it had been long discontinued by Victrola. This is, what is this thing called? This is the VBB 25. You can still buy it. I just checked right before we started filming, $38. And mine is much older than that, though. This is VBB 25. 1907, which means it's from 2019 and July 3rd of that date. And 781, apparently that's how many they rolled off the production line that day. So 2019 essentially is what this is from, but it's pretty much untouched. There are inherent things. If you're like, well, I don't know, should I get into cassettes? And, do I want one of these modern ones? There are things to be aware of. Now, just like vinyl records, there's all these gatekeepers out there. All these guys, that's cheap Chinese crap. And they'll be in the comments. I'm telling you, they're going to be in the comments to this video. They'll come after people that show any, glimmer of joy, hope, enthusiasm, happiness for anything that they don't agree with. So I'm warning you, they're out there. But there is an element of truth. There is an element of truth to their argument. And I wanted to kind of talk through that a bit so that you knew what you were getting involved with. I want to point out, too, that I think of myself as an inherently positive person. I know a lot of people on YouTube kind of look at stuff like guilty until proven innocent, and I try to be the opposite of that. I want things to be good. And even though I would say steer away from something like this, if you want the best quality and are willing to accept the risks of possible further investment and elbow grease to make it work, I think that a lot of folks can enjoy this. And I'm keeping mine. I like it, but I understand the inherent risks. So I'm not going to do a full review on this because we've done it before, but this is typical for a portable cassette player. So it's not about stereo. It's not about super high fidelity. It's not about bass. It's not about any of those things. It's about portability and convenience. So the idea with these is you would carry your music with you. I mean, this is a very 80s item, even though this is a modern implementation of the idea. The concept of this is a very 80s idea, late 70s. And the idea is that you take your cassettes and your radio, which is where you're getting your entertainment from, into the garage, into, a secondary room, into a bedroom, on a trip, to a friend's house. It's portability. It's taking tunes on the go. And the trade-off for that portability is quality. Now, they aren't designed to be bad, but they are designed to be portable, which inherently makes them of a lower quality. So the ideal use case is battery operation. As you can see there, we have that. Now, when I use portables, for the most part, I'm not taking them to the beach. I did a video about that just as a joke, but I don't want sand. I don't want my electronics anywhere near the beach. And if I do, it's going to be a designated burner unit that I know I'm going to probably destroy in the process. Sand, you can't go to the beach without sand getting everywhere for days afterwards. There's no way to avoid it. And sand and electronics are not good bedfellows. So for me, I'm not taking things to the beach. I'm probably not going to be doing a lot of outside the house porting of electronics. So, and if I'm carrying it around the house, I just as soon rather plug it into the AC power supply. So I'm a coil up the power cord and put it in the battery compartment kind of guy. So that's why my portable has been rendered less portable than perhaps it would be otherwise. So you got the same basic functionality here. You've got a radio, you've got a tape recorder that will record off of the radio or through its built-in mic. We'll look at that in a second. These modern ones often have Bluetooth, which you can see right there. So you can hook up your phone to it and be cool and trendy and retro and post a picture to Instagram, listening to your streaming music on your little, don't call it a boombox, portable radio / cassette player thingy. This one also has a SD card slot, so you can put MP3s on there, USB card, headphone jack, and a little LED indicator light there. So you may be saying, okay, whatever. What's the problem that we run into with these? Is it like, some entry-level suitcase record players that, wear out records at a faster rate? I'm not saying damage. Very carefully did not say damage there. But they do track heavier, those record players, and that will wear your records out faster. That doesn't happen with cassette players. Poor quality cassette players don't really damage your cassettes, thankfully. It's just the sound that you get off of them isn't as good. So the electronics inside, the amplification, etc., is going to be nominally poor quality. But even the electronics themselves aren't the hang-up. The hang-up is the mechanism. So the mechanical thing that plays the tape. And that's because there aren't a bunch of companies making these mechanisms. I'm talking about the actual cassette mechanism anymore. And you've got one design, which was pioneered by a company called Tanishin back in the 80s, which was even used back then. It's a fine design, but it was the bare bones, cheapest option available to manufacturers. And many bigger name companies would use it on their entry-level stuff. But the problem is now that's all that's left. And not even the original Tanishin mechanisms are being made anymore. These are all clones made by a couple Chinese companies off of the design of what used to be the lowest end mechanism on the market. All that being said, it's not a terrible design. It won't damage anything. They can last, etc., etc. But there's different versions. Some of them are made with all plastic parts, and obviously they're not going to last very long. This one is metal construction. They're stamped metal parts, and more than anything, the limitations come in the playback and the record capabilities. First of all, the play head itself, which is going to be very difficult to see on this unit, but the play head is going to be mono instead of stereo. It's a mono speaker. It's not a stereo setup, but people can't get past the idea of a unit being designed for mono use. This is a mono unit. There's no reason for a stereo, head in there, even though it's got a headphone jack. This doesn't need to be stereo, okay? This is convenience, portability over quality. And the record is the other thing. And if you look right here, you will see this blue thing hanging down. I'm going to zoom in on it. That is a permanent erase head. That's a magnet that's always on. And that is a telltale sign that you have a Tanishan clone mechanism. But there's no point in checking. If you have a new unit, it's going to be made with these types of mechanisms. And the reason why that's less ideal is that higher end units use an electromagnet that's switched on and off versus the permanent magnet erase head. So there you go. That's the whole skinny on why it's not an ideal unit. That being said, I like mine and I've kept it, as you can tell. So if your purpose in cassettes is to get the best stereo, high fidelity audio in the world, then this is not the unit for you. Do not buy it. Okay, did all the fact-checking snobs leave the room? I think they're gone. Okay, cool. It's just you and me now. This thing's cool. I love this thing. This is great. Perfect for if you pick up like old kids tapes. I love these. Like this is like a Disney Aladdin like book on tape type of deal. This is awesome for that. So let's go ahead and play a little. Why not, right?
Let's begin. One day, Aladdin and Jasmine heard music outside the palace. Aladdin grabbed Jasmine's hand and ran to see.
Look, a parade!
They hurried down to the street.
Another thing is there's no Dolby noise reduction anymore. I'm not a huge Dolby guy anyway. I don't usually put Dolby in or use Dolby when I'm making recordings or playing back anyway.
That was the end of the story.
Nice. Great timing. Let's flip that over a bit. I love picking these things up. I love the fact they're on colored shells. Fun fact, most cassettes are made out of polystyrene, the shell. And that's the same material as the 45s that people don't like, that scratch easily, etc., etc. Let's see if we can play this side.
Iago has managed to escape from the lamp, leaving the evil Jafar inside, and has returned to the palace. But don't worry, all is well. In fact, at this very moment, Aladdin is with the royal chief of etiquette. Shall we drop in on them? Every time you hear this sound...
I love how this tape's label is designed to have it in this position, which is the way, most common people's cassette mechanisms were. If you had a unit where the tape went down like this, it was a higher end unit. So this is indicative of a common person's cassette player.
Wonder Woman continued. But head for our satellite. If someone has taken it over, we'll just have...
Yeah, if you're interested in wow and flutter numbers, and that had a little wow and flutter, I think the tape is actually pretty worn out on this one. If you're thinking about wow and flutter, then just skip over this. You know what I mean? If you're interested in stereo, skip over this. If you just want to have fun, this is for us. Okay, let's do a little recording. This is a basic microphone, but the mic isn't the issue with the recording. It's actually the bias circuit. So modern units use what's called DC bias for recording. And I've done a show about that. I'm not going to go into that. But higher end units use AC bias. And AC bias basically makes the recording sound a lot better. Therefore, the recordings this makes, both off the radio and especially the mic, are going to sound this quality. Still, stuff like this makes me very happy because, when I was a kid, it was something like this that I was hauling down in front of the family TV and recording audio from Wizard of Oz or whatever. And I thought it was so fun that I could go make a recording. And I didn't care about the quality. I didn't care about bias. But I thought it was so cool that I could go make a recording of a movie or something and then later go listen to that in my bedroom at night. And maybe that's why to this day I still enjoy movie audio, because I've been doing it for a long time. I just really enjoy doing that. By the way, always looking for an excuse to show stuff like this. Look at this unusual cassette mechanism here. It hinges up like that. Isn't that interesting? Very, very interesting. Memorex. And if you are getting into cassettes, it would behoove you to get a cleaning tape. This basically has like a coarse fabric that is spooled just like tape. And to use it, and I'll literally show you how to do it. Either it'll come with some cleaner, or if you don't have any cleaner, just, you know, do some isopropyl alcohol and just pour a little bit right there. I'll put a little extra on the sides. And alcohol evaporates, which is why it's an ideal way to go. And just play the tape in both directions for a little while, and that's the easy way to clean your tape heads. Keep them clean. You know, it's something you do every year. You know what I mean? Like, unless you're using this thing daily, this is like an once a year thing to clean it, if that. I also, and it's dripping. I put a little too much in. I also put tapes over the record tabs so that I could clean the record head as well. Well, this is going to be a singular play record head, but it'll clean that magnet. So that's why I've done that. It's just a fun thing to have. You know what I mean? It's just fun. And I like the fact that it's never going to have a notification pop up interrupting my enjoyment of whatever I'm doing. This is disconnected from notifications. I guess you could have the radio on and get an emergency alert, but this is a pretty stress-free enjoyment of your audio, and I think it's super, super fun. So if you pass the vibe check and you get what it is and you get what it isn't, then I would wholeheartedly recommend picking. I'll put the link to this particular one in the description down below. But yeah, mostly I just wanted to acknowledge that yes, modern mechanisms and things like this won't cut it for people that are like the super hi-fi, you know, they want it for elite audio reasons. But for people that just want to have fun and play some tapes or make very basic voice recordings just for the heck of it, it's totally cool. All right, my friends. Maybe we ended up in a place you weren't expecting, but I hope you enjoyed the journey nonetheless. Hey, guess what? Members of our channel got early access to this video, and you can too. It's so many more benefits for only 99 cents a month. So consider joining. It's a lot of fun. We'd love to have you on the inside circle. And we've also got other opportunities for you to support the channel. We've got merchandise, we've got custom 45 adapters, and a host of other fun opportunities for you. We also do giveaways from time to time. We do some awesome things on this channel. Mostly we're just glad you're here. You know, it doesn't cost anything to subscribe. So if you wouldn't mind, do that and tell a friend as well. But that's gonna do it for today. So happy record hunting, and we'll see you next time.